How's it going? Everything looking good for the meeting?
Yep, everything's in place. Bridget has the agenda up and we're all good to go.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Hey, Don.
Hey there.
Are you presenting tonight?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Megan will also be joining me.
Okay. You have full ability to share a screen. All we have to do is just stop our share, and then you'll share. So Bridget will just stop, and then you'll pick right up.
Sounds great.
Okay. That's enough of anything.
Thanks.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Fred.
Sounds like there are other people around.
Yep.
It was nice getting together with you this morning.
Yeah, I thought it was a really great meeting.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Hi, Tom.
How you doing? Oh,
Hi, Tom.
hello. Oh,
Hi, Rachel.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Drying out a bit.
Just a bit. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, David.
It looks like we had another half an inch here today.
Wow, I'm in San Francisco today and we've had continuous rain, but pretty light. I don't think anything like half an inch.
And we had 10 inches here during Stormageddon last weekend.
Yeah, that's about what we got at our house in Sonoma
Yeah,
too.
a third of the entire annual average rainfall in one day.
That was crazy. Did you hear about the floating porta potty?
No.
Where was
My
that?
my daughter was having an engagement party, and although it was contraindicated, a good many friends and family members hit the road, and our niece took a picture of the floating porta potty that was on Highway 101. She had to stop for it and let it drift past. And then friends of ours saw the highway patrol come along and lasso it and get it over to the side. So our favorite story.
Oh, jeez. Something which the world is not fully prepared.
No.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi there.
Hi, Deborah.
Let's see. We've got everybody.
Barbara.
I don't think we have Paul. Let's see. It's 6 o'clock, but we will wait just a minute. Just the rain sometimes creates slow connections. Okay, it is 6:01. I am going to call the meeting to order. And I will call the commissioners. Commissioner Cahill,
Here.
Commissioner Elkind,
Here.
welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ingbarth,
Here.
Commissioner Foxen,
Here.
Commissioner Hauser,
Here.
Mr. Heavenridge, Commissioner McKenzie,
Here.
Commissioner Mulford,
Here.
Commissioner Parker,
Here.
Mr. Schneider.
Here.
Okay. We will look for Commissioner Heavenridge. Pursuant to California Code Section 54953, all the votes are going to be taken by roll call. And we are going to make a change in the agenda. We are going to remove items 5.2 and 11.1, and we will be hearing the Measure Y Oversight Committee's report next month. Okay. Item number 3, are there any public appearances? This is your
I have
time to sing out.
Chair Doyle, this is Jen Swenson. I have not received any written submissions this month, and I don't see any members of the public present here today to speak.
Wonderful. Okay. I mean, I'm sure that lots will be listening in. Then we are going to move to action items. Number 4. We did this last month and are going to continue doing this at the direction of the governor. So we need a resolution that establishes the need to hold teleconference meetings due to the proclaimed state of emergency. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Cahill. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ingbarth. All right, then I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Cahill.
Yeah, please.
Commissioner
Yes.
Elkind. Yes, that's right. Sorry. Commissioner Elkind.
Yes.
Commissioner Ingbarth, you were the second. Commissioner
Yes.
Foxen.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge, are we here? Commissioner Heavenridge. You are muted. I'll come back to you. Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
All right, I vote yes. And,
You missed me.
oh, I'm sorry.
No
How
problem.
did I do that? Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes. Thank
I was
you.
looking for Commissioner Heavenridge. Sorry about that.
I am here.
There we go. would you like to say yes on this?
Would I like to say yes? Yes.
Thank you. All right, it's unanimous. And now we are at a delightful agenda item, which is the resolution honoring library volunteers. And this is just a short list compared to all of the volunteers we have, but it's a wonderful resolution. And Commissioner McKenzie, would you like to read it?
I'd be happy to. Could we have it on the screen, please? Great. Thank you. Whereas the Sonoma County Library and its patrons have long benefited from the extraordinary efforts of community volunteers, and whereas hundreds of dedicated volunteers have in many cases served the library community for decades, and whereas the library expresses its profound gratitude to current and former volunteers, and here's a partial list, but here we're going for tonight: Agnes Wong, Angie Orr, Arlene Jones, Barbara Fisher, Barbara Hart, Beth Sawaski, Bill Rupert, Bruce Robinson, Carl Jackson, Carol King, Charlene Lukes, Cynthia Denenholtz, Damian Olson, Dan Jenkins, Davis Bullwinkle, Deanna Fusco, Diana Lubitch, Dick Drew, Doris Dickinson, Dottie Rubert, Duane Niblett, Ed Schoen, Emily Roeder, Frank Morabito, Jerry Groves, Gershom Thompson, Jenny Simmons, Jane Erla, Jane Snibby, Jean Neusmeyer, Jerry Benson, Jim Tice, Joan Geip, Joanne Schmutz, John Jay, Judy Bullwinkle, Karen Jones, Laura Owens, Lena Merritt, Lena Darcy, Linda Heiser, Margaret Hummel, Margaret Jean Smith, Jerry Groves, Margaret Smith, Marie Hinton, Mark James, Martha Baker, Marianne Gervais, Owen Peterson, Pat O'Hara, Peter Andrews, Richard Edwards, Robert Alwitt, Robert Cortez, Sandy Drew, Sheridan Couvert, Shuiling Li Zhang, I'm sure I screwed that up, I'm sorry, Simon Jeremiah, Terry Loveland, Terry Oden, Tim May, Ursula Niblett, and Vicki Kaler. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the Sonoma County Library Commission that the members of the commission hereby express their heartfelt appreciation to all volunteers, past and present, who help make the library a place where the people of Sonoma County can discover, learn, and share. And that's signed by our chair, Deborah Doyle, and our director, Ann Hammond. And
Commissioner McKenzie, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take your voice as a first, as a, and I'd like to second. I'd like to use the position of chair to second, and then also say that this is just the tip of the iceberg. But the reason why this conversation started, and I think we want to honor even more volunteers during National Volunteer Week in the spring next year. But the reason why this started was because two wonderful volunteers retired, kind of, probably reluctantly, in Rohnert Park, and they were honored by Rohnert Park, of course. But some of us thought that it should come to the larger level. And so, Commissioner McKenzie, would you describe the two volunteers that really kind of set this off, because they're such models, and we'd like to give them some recognition. In addition, of course, to all of the list of the volunteers who are already on that list.
yes, thank you for that opportunity, Chair Doyle. We have potentially the oldest volunteer and longtime volunteer of Owen Peterson. She turned 102 in April, been with the Friends of the Library for between 35 and 40 years, has just done a remarkable job. She's still the volunteer coordinator. She came back after COVID and found it was just a little bit overwhelming to be spending as many hours there as she was prior to that. So Owen is not active in the library, but I just saw an email the other day saying that she's going to wrap all the Christmas presents for the volunteers again this year. So she's a remarkable woman, a long career in education at the Petaluma School District, and then this long career she's the person who, when people come into the library, they go, "Where's Owen?" You know, everybody wants to know her. She's got a story to tell and a joke to share, and she's just a remarkable woman. And the other person is Joanne Schmutz. Joanne is the person, when the city of Rohnert Park was going to build a new library, they went to Joanne as the head of the Friends of the Library and said, "Joanne, if we had a bookstore to the building, would you run it?" And she said, sure, she would. So she designed it. She organized the entire book, the whole system of, bringing books in, how they're shelved, how they're, cleaned and stored, all the book sales, everything. She just created the entire structure for this whole thing, and has unfortunately suffered a pretty severe medical setback in the last number of months. And so she has not been back to the library, but we hope that she will be able to. And again, these are just two exceptional people. All of the folks that we mentioned here tonight are all exceptional. And there's something about, I have a huge soft spot in my heart for Friends of the Library. I'm sure we all do. And it's just how much they add to the community, the opportunities to volunteer, the opportunities to make friends, the opportunity to do good for the community, sell low price books. I say this all the time, but in Rohnert Park, it's the only bookstore. Without our library volunteers, we wouldn't even have a bookstore, and this is the third largest city in the county. So anyway, special honor to Joanne and Owen. I hope maybe they're watching tonight. And, we love you and we appreciate all that you've done. And also hats off to each and every one of the folks who were called out tonight in this resolution. You're all remarkable and extra special friends of the library. Thank you all.
Great, thanks. Any other comments? We could go on for hours, of course, but but Commissioner McKenzie was very, very good about this. So any other comments from commissioners? Okay, hearing none, then I will call the roll. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth.
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge.
Yes.
McKenzie is a yes. Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And I've made it unanimous. Wonderful. Thanks very much, everybody. And thank you so much to all the volunteers who have helped the library over the years. Really, we clearly couldn't have done it without you. Okay, moving on to 5. We're going to have the Brandt's presentation about Healdsburg and the Wine Library. Sorry, I'm so dark here.
Hi, everybody. Everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear John.
Great. It looks like I went on to the next page already. Getting ahead of myself. I'll just jump right in though. So, hi everybody. I'm John Haupt, the branch manager at Healdsburg Library and the Sonoma County Wine Library. Along with me today, actually, I also have Megan Jones, the curator of the Wine Library. Before I was the branch manager here, I was the wine librarian, and prior to that, a music librarian in academic libraries and an arts library director as well. Megan grew up in Napa County and received her MLIS with a focus on managing historical records. So moving right in, I'm going to talk about some of the other staff members at Healdsburg Library. Like any of our branches, we have a variety of librarians, associates, and specialists. Couple of vacancies, one of which, the specialist, I'm happy to report, has been filled. So look for that announcement coming probably next month. And we have a bit more staff in our branch compared with other medium-sized branches, but as you may know, with the wine library involved, we have a little bit more to work with there. So we're a very happy, creative staff at the moment. A little bit about the building. So this building opened in 1988, and It's overdue for a little refresh. And, you know, happily, we have been hearing that Healdsburg will be next in line for a major refresh after the Petaluma project. So we're looking forward to that. Just a little bit of information about, you know, how things have been going at our branch with the numbers over the last year. Like I think pretty much the rest of the branches, we're definitely finding that as we've gone through the different phases of reopening, we've had, you know, increased usage and week by week. And the curbside, you know, was going strong with about 800 per month while we were not doing in person, and then, you know, pretty much a precipitous decline after people were allowed to enter. In Healdsburg, we have the typical excellent library advisory board, and we're blessed with 2 friends groups for our one branch. So we have the Friends of Healdsburg Library and also the Wine Library Association. Interesting to work with the different groups. And just a little bit about the wine library. So I wanted to point out the over 6,000 items in the wine library collection. That's about 12% of the collection of the entire building. So definitely a major part of what we provide. And I think this is an important point to make, that you know, the Healdsburg branch is dedicated to our service area, whereas Sonoma County Wine Library is a countywide resource. So important for our entire county. And we have 2 dedicated staff members for the wine library specifically, but of course, we share the work across all of the staff members in our library. The first question that people ask about the wine library is usually whether you can check out wine. The second question is usually, why do people visit? So that's what I'm getting at here. As you can see, the examples show that really we get everything across the board, anything really related to the entire wine industry. And speaking of people visiting the library, here's a little bit about demographics. As you can see from this map, and maybe you remember from last month, the presentation from Group 4, one of the oddities of the Healdsburg map is that the active users appear to come from pretty much all over the county. And there's some hotspots as well, which are just very interesting. And I think we're just as curious as anyone on this, but you know, I have some thoughts about, you know, are some of these people maybe wine library users that that show up like this, or they work in Healdsburg but live elsewhere? Kind of an interesting question. Another thing about this slide is that I think is important is the last bullet point about all of the Healdsburg schools being walkable to our current building. We feel very confident that we're in the right place, as you know, all of the schools are walkable and the senior center as well. And it appears right into the middle of that call out window with the extra dots on it. As I was doing that map, I also just looked into clusters a little bit and found there are 2 areas in which Healdsburg seems to stand out a little bit. Instead of being in the middle of everything, bedtime stories and page turners are clusters of people that check out lots and lots of children's materials and just avid readers of adult and teen print materials. Very high percentages of our users in those areas. And I just thought that was interesting. I think those 2, you could say, probably go together. A lot of people have a reputation. Think of Healdsburg in a certain way in terms of wineries and hospitality, tourism. And I just think it's important to note the challenges that we face as well, in particular with our changing demographics and income inequality. And I just think this chart is just very interesting, showing the school data. And as you go across here from countywide over to the elementary level, getting more and more specific, it's just striking how much more intense that those particular areas get as you get more specific. And just thinking of the elementary age families as being, you know, our future, it's just, it's really something to see those numbers. So what are we doing about that? You know, how are we meeting the moment? And as I said earlier, I would say Healdsburg is just blessed with a very creative and you know, forward-thinking staff, trying to find ways of bringing that community into our building with creative programming for teens, for example, trying to come up with things that would bring groups in that we don't see, and then also going out to see our local, in this case, housing, affordable housing units. And also just trying to meet our community in terms of the disasters and the traumatic situations that they find themselves in. And over the last year and a half during the pandemic, just a little bit about where we've gone with that, just continue to find ways of trying to connect our community together. We participated in virtual events like the other branches, but really it seemed like the staff here was just very focused on trying to create live events and bring people together to kind of meet each other online. And then we kind of took a turn mid-year and started focusing on offering things you could take with you and get outside and just try to connect the community through nature and books. And lately we've been focusing on in-person events with the story times in the park and starting to do some indoor book clubs as well. And just opportunities for the future, just ways of continuing to serve our vulnerable communities in new ways. I'm really excited about the partnerships with Corazon and the city parks that have honestly gotten better over the pandemic as we've had more opportunities to work with them. The Biblio bike, which is on the way, added to the list of exciting vehicles available. Our refresh that I mentioned earlier. And again, with the trauma and the disasters that we've been talking about, just trying to figure out how that we can provide a platform for everyone to succeed in their path. And that's all I had for slides, and I wanted to go to questions. And just as a thing that I wanted to bring that isn't in the presentation as it is, I thought you'd all want to know about the Dia de los Muertos outreach from yesterday, where we served at our building, at our new Biblio bus, over 1,000 people with giveaways and crafts, and checked out 27 items as well, which is exciting because people weren't necessarily planning to check out books, but there they were. And we're just tickled with how that went, again, with the partnerships with Corazon, and just looking forward to the future. So yeah, any questions you may have?
Thanks very much. Did anything unexpected, I'll lead off, did anything unexpected happen with the Biblio bus? It must have been a challenge with that many people.
You know, it really went off extremely well. Monica, Samantha, and I, you know, got there pretty early in the morning, and we'd gone over things so many times that, you know, the main thing that was unexpected for us was that the power on the bus, which it needs power in order to run the screen and everything, it went really well. We kind of expected to run out of power and need to run the generator, and we were there it was on from 12 to 5:30, and so anyway, that was a pleasant surprise.
Wonderful. Any comments, any questions?
I'd just like to make a quick comment. John is exceedingly modest, but I hope that all of the commissioners will have a chance to stop by the Healdsburg branch, because the staff is just very friendly, welcoming, and helpful. And you get a great feeling the moment you walk in the building. And that's a tribute to John and his team.
Commissioner
I have a
Elton.
question for John. What do you tell people that come in and say, can I check out wine here? What's your answer?
Oh, wait a minute. That was full when you checked it out.
Okay.
I've got a stock answer for that one.
Anyone else? Wonderful. Truly, it's a beloved library. We know that. So we're delighted that you came in and reported. And look forward to seeing the Bibliobus.
Happy to join you.
Thanks. Okay, then we have, we're down to item 6, the Library Advisory Boards, the Foundation, and Friends of the Library. Any official representative of these organizations has 10 minutes to present their group's report. Is Ms. Ortiz with us this evening?
Hello, I am.
Fabulous.
Thank you for having me. I was hoping to share just a very short presentation. So hello all. Most of you I think know me, probably everybody, but just in case you don't, I'm the president of the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation. My name is Sarah Ortiz, and we're one of many groups that support the library along with the Friends, and we provide funding to ensure equitable access to Sonoma County library services. And what we've been up to, it's been a couple of months since I've come. We have a new board member. Her name is Ariel Orr, and I'm really excited as she has worked with United Way of the Wine Country in volunteer management. So she has a lot of experience with nonprofits, and she just completed a master's in public policy. So I'm really excited about how she can help us with volunteer management and with becoming more active in advocacy, which is something I've been really interested in, and I appreciate Chair Doyle has talked to us about advocacy before, and I'm hoping that the foundation can become better advocates for the library on the local, state, and federal level. We're working on our newsletter for the end of year campaign. Anybody who donates to nonprofits know that this is the time. So you should all be getting a newsletter in your mailbox. If it's okay, I'll email all of you and ask if you would like to be added to our mailing list. Several of you are already donors, and thank you very much. And we're currently working on our investment policy. We have been privileged to receive a couple of really large bequests in the last year, which has really grown our accounts. And so we're looking at investment policy, long-term, short-term, what kind of balancing do we need to do, and how can we guide the foundation for the future? So I want to thank Commissioner Hauser. He attends our meetings, and he's always very polite, but sometimes he has some really good insight, and we really appreciate that. And we hope to get more bequests, and it just shows how a conversation now with somebody might lead to a bequest 20 years down the line that can be really life-changing. So we really appreciate those bequests, and we're excited about the future. I wanted to call out one bequest in particular. I've talked about this one before, but it actually turned out to be even bigger than we had originally been notified. So I want to talk about Claire Mcgowan. She was a school teacher with the Cloverdale school district. And after she retired, she went back to the school and continued being a literacy tutor. And she loved the library, and she gave originally $300,000, and we got notified that we are anticipating another 150 about from her estate. And so that is going to be life-changing. And when I think about Claire, I think about how I didn't know her, but she is literally affecting generations of Cloverdale readers, and both as a teacher and then going back as a volunteer tutor, and now with this gift to the Cloverdale Library. I'm just overwhelmed by her generosity in life and afterlife, and just the spirit of loving reading and wanting to encourage kids to read. I'm just floored by her generosity. So I wanted to call her out and say thank you for her gift. And this is an architectural drawing that Director Hammond gave or sent to us. The initial $300,000, the library leadership discussed with Cloverdale how to use the funds, and they came up with reinventing the patio space or the courtyard space. And so I'm really excited to see it when it's done and hear progress updates, but hopefully soon Cloverdale will have a completely reinvented courtyard and maybe something else, all thanks to Claire Mcgowan. So I just wanted to say thank you to her for her incredible gift and how appreciative we are. And I also just want to take this opportunity. I know we already did or you guys already did the volunteer resolution, but there was one name in there, Dan Jenkins, that came from me. Many of you probably know Dan. He volunteered for the library for a long time. He was an adult literacy tutor and fostered relationships there and taught adults to read. And then he has served on the foundation for 10 years before retiring this year. And so I just want to say thank you to him for his incredible work. I mean, he donated at least probably 10 hours of his time a week for 10 years, doing the books and newsletters and anything that needed to be done. He's an incredible volunteer, and we were really grateful for his time. And I don't know anybody who reads more than him. Feels like every time I went to the library, he was there picking up books, which just shows the dedication. So that's it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, but oh, you're on mute, Chair Doyle.
Thanks for pointing that out. Thanks very much for calling him out. We all know how hard he's worked for the library and for its support. And thanks very much for coming this evening. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Ortiz or for the foundation? Just thanks, and we know you'll use the money wisely.
Thank you.
Director Hammond, would you like to start off with the library reports?
I would be delighted to. So as John Haupt mentioned, Dia de los Muertos, and I hope you all have had a wonderful day of thinking about your loved ones who have gone on before us. It's a lovely holiday, and I think that more people should recognize this time of year. We were at Healdsburg yesterday. Deputy Director Erica Thibault and Communications Manager Ray Hawley and I were privileged to join the Healdsburg staff and the Bibliobus staff and indeed staff from all around the library system who volunteered to take part in the Dia de los Muertos festival at Healdsburg. And it was the inaugural outing of the Bibliobus, the first time we've taken it out into public. And as John said, people were really excited. John mentioned the demographics of Healdsburg, and I think that really struck me. It was it was very much on display yesterday. We could see all of the families and the variety of ethnicities and ages, everybody coming downtown to enjoy this time to be together. And everyone was excited about the bibliobus. So it was a really lovely time to be out, and that's what it's all about for library outreach. We want to give the people that opportunity to experience the library in new and different ways, and then they'll come and visit us in our physical buildings as well. So that was an excellent day for all of us. Other good news: we began working on shelving the materials at Westwind, the historical documents. We finished the tenant improvements, as I mentioned in the weekly update. And today, staff spent the day working on the ledger items. And they'll be working probably for another week on getting everything loaded up onto the shelves, but it's going quite well, and we're really pleased about that. The facilities plan, you've heard me talk about that before. You know that we've made progress in terms of our meetings and our outreach, and starting tomorrow, we will be visiting each of the locations so that the architects can see firsthand what the physical state of the buildings is, and talk to the staff about what works and what doesn't work. And that will really help inform our planning process. I would like to give a special thanks to Commissioner Ingbarth. He's been very proactive in sharing the information about the survey that's online and in paper copies. And as a result, we've had a lot of participation from Sebastopol residents. So my challenge to everyone else is, let's be like Fred. Share with your own networks, your elected officials, your social networks. Make sure that everybody in the county has an opportunity to participate in this, because we want it to be as informative as possible. And then lastly, it is my very great pleasure to introduce to you tonight our new development officer, Craig Palmer, and our new CFO, Ludmila Lopez. So this is their first commission meeting with us, and they're going to be in listen and learn mode for a while, but both of them, I'm sure, will be participating in a more expanded format as we move along. Craig and Myrna, would either of you like to say hello to the commissioners?
Myrna?
Yeah. Oh, hello, this is Ludmila. I'm having some challenges with my camera. Otherwise, I'd turn it on. So I just want to say good evening, and I'm delighted to oh, there I am. So I'm Ludmila Lopez, and you can call me Myrna. And I'm so delighted to join the team of the Sonoma County Library and all the work that you're doing. Just being here and hearing the reports is very exciting for me, and look forward to partnering with you all as commission and with administration. And I look forward to contributing and advancing the mission and your reimagining plan.
I know I speak for the commission when I say welcome aboard. We're delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks. Craig?
Well, Craig Palmer is my name. I have to say, I've just been very humbled and very inspired to have been invited into this wonderful group. The challenges are high, but so is the opportunity. It's an extraordinary time in the county and an extraordinary time for the library. And so I've just gotten this really great sense of team and support and commitment and passion and whatnot. And so I know that I look forward to seeing how I can fit in and work with all of you to be sure that we reach all the goals we need to reach, to build buildings and expand programs and all the rest of it. So thanks very much for inviting me in.
Thanks very much, Mr. Palmer. Welcome aboard.
Any old time.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Director Hammond, anything else from the other library reports, or shall we move into budget and finance?
Into budget and finance.
All right.
And we have Randy Seipel with us this evening. Commissioner Elkind, we weren't sure if you were going to be joining us. Would you like to kick things off, or?
Help if I come off of mute. So, and I'm sorry, Randy's not able to join us this evening?
No, Randy is here.
He's here.
Oh, well, I'm gonna let Randy take us through the reports, but I would just like to say on behalf of the Finance Committee, a very warm welcome to Craig and Myrna, and especially Myrna. We have been eagerly looking forward to you joining the library team, and just very excited to have you on board. So thank you very much. That said, Randy and his team have continued to do great work and will continue for the foreseeable future. Randy, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to just give a quick overview on the financial reports, and I'll make a few comments when we get to the Finance Committee readout.
I'd be happy to. Good evening, everyone. And first off, I would like to echo what Annie just said. I'm very, very excited to have Myrna joining us. Looking forward to working with Myrna quite a bit in the future and hopefully in the distant future as well. So getting to the reports, the one that's up on the screen now is the summary report. This is as of September 30th. Some point of highlight, sales tax for September, which represents the July collections, came in at 1.2 million, which is right in line with the previous month of another 1.2 million. I can also report that I looked this up today. The October receipts was 1.45 million, which represents a little less than $100,000 increase over October 2020. So we're definitely on a good trend at this point. Other items to mention in this report, we have processed 6 pay periods, so 2 pay periods per month, which is standard. One thing that I would like to point out that may have caught your eye is that the salaries and benefits costs in September is shown at 1.7 million as compared to 1.4 million in both July and August. The reason for this increase is that we are continuing to work on the payroll cleaning up project. So what we did was we found a couple more payments to CalPERS that had not been recorded in EFS for the current fiscal year. And so we cleaned those up and recognized those expenses in September. So we're continuing to work on getting a process to where we're going to have real-time information when it comes to those payments that are processed through the external payroll account. The only other thing that I'd like to point out on this page is capital expenses continue to move right along. Again, these are mainly related to, I believe, Roseland, and I think Petaluma is starting to get underway. Are there any questions for me on this page? Was there anything that I missed, Andy, that you'd like to touch on?
No, I don't think so. I think basically the good news is that revenues have continued to be strong and expenses are well controlled and in line with budget and with the priorities of the library.
And I don't see any other hands up, so pray continue, Randy.
Okay. Can we go to the next page then? Would be the cash balance summary. And again, one thing that I should have mentioned from the first page is that there was some question last month's meeting about whether or not all the adjustments related to the payroll account had been posted or are they being reflected in the reports. They are now fully reflected in this month's report. So your cash balance, your beginning cash balance at June 30, 2021 is now accurate, is now reflecting the posting of the adjustments related to that payroll account. So that being said, are there any questions on the cash balance summary report? Not hearing any. Okay. The next two pages are, or the next few pages, I believe, are our fund balance. And once again, these are reflective of those adjustments. Numbers I'd point out is that our beginning fund balance for property tax was at 10.8 million. And the beginning fund balance for sales tax is at 17 million. So again, still very, very healthy, even after reflecting the results of the adjustments that we had to make. If there are no questions for fund balance, we can move on to the next page, which are the voucher payments over 50,000.
I don't see any hands. Go for it.
So one more page down, please. There we go. One of the things that came out of the last finance committee meeting was the discussion about the allocation that we've begun doing for books, media, and subscription costs. We are processing the 67-33% split between property tax and sales tax for that account. And you would see that in the second to last line on this report, 72,604 is hitting that books, media, and subscriptions account. Excuse me. So that amount has now been allocated along with all other costs that hit that account through the end of September. 33% of those costs have been allocated to Measure Y, or the sales tax fund, and the 67% remain in the property tax fund. We will be footnoting on future reports on this report the fact that all costs, this is being shown that the original 72,000 hit in the property tax fund. Again, we'll footnote that will be allocated out in future quarters. If there are no questions on this, we can move on to the next.
I see no hands.
Okay. And rather than me diving into this tsunami of information, if there are any questions that anyone has after looking at this, please feel free to ask those now. Or if Andy or Ann, if you'd like to jump in, if there's anything on this report or the few that follow that you'd like to point out, please do so.
Randy, I don't have anything specific to call out here. These have all been reviewed by the Finance Committee, and I would just suggest if any commissioners have specific questions, they can go ahead and ask.
Not seeing any.
Not hearing. If we can skip down to the last page in this report, or in the financial reports, this would be the new report that's been added on to this month. So one, there we go. So this was requested to kind of try and sum up the payroll account issue as far as what the impacts were. One of the biggest questions was, did this impact our budget? When we passed the 21-22 budget before the error was discovered, did we include enough budget to actually be able to pay for our expenses in 21-22? And so that's what the top left section is intended to take a look at, that the 21-22 budget we passed for salaries and benefits is at 26.8 million. As you can see from the very final column, the 2021 adjusted actuals came in at under 20 million, at 19.6 million. So we really don't have any concerns that we need to worry about adjusting the budget in any way for 21-22. And the reason why that amount is so high is that amount was budgeted based upon the assumption that we would be fully staffed, that all allocated positions would be filled. And so we certainly have plenty of wiggle room to incorporate or to be able to adjust for those additional costs that we discovered at the end of the year. The other set areas of interest are off to the right. So fund balance, again, I'm just showing what we had originally reported the ending fund balance was going to be for property tax and sales tax. And then we have the adjusted amounts after the payroll account was corrected. And the same thing goes for the section below it for the cash balance, what we had originally reported versus what we're now showing as the adjusted balance. And then the bottom sections, the bottom left was intended to show why there's $1.2 million in the adjustments to salaries and benefits and how that breaks out. And also, we've talked about the fact that there was about $3.7 million in total adjustments. There was a question as to why we're only seeing $1.2 million in adjustments here if there was 3.7. The reason for that is that $2.5 million of the adjustments were related to the 1920 fiscal year. And we cannot, or we don't want to adjust the previous year expenses to reflect those amounts. We post that to an account called prior year revenue. It's a system issue that we have with our accounting system. We cannot go back and do anything to the 1920 year. So in order to correct the carrying balance of the payroll account, we had to post it to this prior year revenue account. And so that's why there's a difference between this $3.7 million adjustment and the 1.2 that you're seeing was adjusted to 2021. And then finally, the bottom right section of this report is just once again showing all the line items that we discovered when we started taking a look at that at the payroll account that had not been posted or had been posted incorrectly. So with that, I'd like to open up any questions that any of the commissioners may have about this page.
Looks like Dave Cahill has a question.
Yeah, I just have a comment. Randy, I want to thank you and your team for working through all these corrections and making sure that we're good to go from here on forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely like to second that, Randy. Really appreciate the effort that you and your team put into reconciling these accounts and cleaning this up so that as Myrna comes aboard, we've got a firm foundation for her to build on. So very grateful to you and your team.
Absolutely.
Anybody else? I don't see any other hands.
Okay, well, those are all the financial reports that we have for September.
Thanks very much. I'm looking, and I just want to make sure that we don't have anyone who wants to comment from the public. We have a couple of names that I didn't see before, so I just want to ask if there's any public comment on this, on the library reports, not just the finance, but Director Hammond's reports as well. Hearing none, we'll move on to Commissioner Liaison reports. Thanks very much, Randy. Much appreciated. And Commissioner Elkin, thank you very much. I know that you're traveling, and we're delighted to see you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right, Commissioner reports. Does anyone have anything to add to their reports?
I guess I should add that I failed to submit my report, but I did attend the commission meeting, and I observed the finance committee, and I participated to the extent I could at the very, very interesting meeting run by the architects regarding changes in the library. So that's my verbal version of my brief report.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
And this
Anybody
is
else?
Commissioner Schneider. Yeah, this is Commissioner Schneider. I too confess I'm behind on my written reports, but I've attended library advisory boards, 2 of the group 4 sessions. I thought they were just fascinating and very important work. Thanks to the library and everybody else involved in making those happen.
Thank you very much. We know your schedule is very busy also. Anybody else? I have one addition. Naturally, it always happens the final weekend, but the American Library Association office in Washington, of course, decided that at the last minute, we should try to, and they're trying to find funding for libraries. There's as I've mentioned several times, there's been a piece of legislation called the Build America's Library Act that is in both the House and the Senate, and it's asking for $5 billion, that's with a B, $billion for library construction and broadband. And given the conversations in Washington about various funding and what needs to be funded and what doesn't, they decided that they would focus on trying to put 150 million in the current legislation that people are arguing about in both houses. So if you know someone in either of the senators' offices, do give a call, do send a note and say that $150 million would help libraries, library construction and broadband reaching libraries out in the wilderness, and it would be very helpful. And the deadline is this week, so do it tomorrow if you can. And let's see, we've got the Commissioner Elkin, do you want to say something about the Finance Committee?
I'd just like to make a couple of quick comments, if I may. First of all, I would like to give a shout out to our Commission Assistant, Jen Swenson, who just has done a fabulous job with our minutes. We did implement a new process this past month because, as you may recall, at the last commission meeting, a couple of the committee members had some corrections to the minutes, and in an effort to ensure that the minutes that are reported to the full commission are completely accurate, Jen has very generously agreed to a couple of additional steps. So she prepares a draft of the minutes, I review it, she revises it, it goes to the full committee, and then we take additional revisions and she incorporates those. So this is the first month that we've done this, and I think it worked well. It just was additional work on her part. So very grateful for that. And that's the process that we're going to follow going forward. I don't want to say anything else about the financial reports. Randy did a great recap. I did want to just talk briefly about the fact that we had a very extensive discussion about the allocation methodology for the Measure Y funds. I thought it was a good discussion, and just kind of highlights the fact, I know that we're delaying the report from the Measure Y committee, but I think as a full commission, we need to take very seriously the responsibility we have to ensure that our sales tax revenues are spent in accordance with both the letter and the spirit of the Measure Y legislation. And I'm encouraged by the discussion we had last month, and looking forward to a revised draft from the library team coming up soon. Also, I just wanted to draw the Commission's attention to the fact that we will be doing a workshop date to be determined, but probably early in 2022, that's going to focus on financial issues for the Commission. And there are four main topics that we're going to be looking at. And these include the Commission's role in financial oversight, the audited financial reports, which we're expecting Pasanti and Brinker to have concluded, mid-year budget review and adjustments, and very important, understanding the library's long-term pension and OPEB obligations. So we'll be working on that over the next couple of months, and look forward to getting together with the full commission. And finally, just want to again welcome our new CFO and looking forward to having her take a deep dive into our current procedures and work with our team to strengthen their skills in all the necessary areas to ensure that our accounting is rock solid going forward. That's it.
Great, thanks. That's quite enough. That's quite a lot, Commissioner Elkin. And I just want to say that there has been some conversation about over the last few months, and certainly more recently, for the commission and the Measure Y Oversight Committee to perhaps talk together about the specific and the I can't remember what your phrase was, but the things that Measure Y can and should and might cover. And so we don't have a date specific for that, but but I think the farther it gets from the actual passage of Measure Y and everybody who was involved in that conversation, I think we need to, it's been 5 years and we certainly need to recalibrate and make sure that we're all looking at the same things and agreeing on the same things. Any other commission comments?
Yeah, I would like to support that, Deborah, about the idea of getting the commission together with the Measure Y people. I think that would be a mutually to everybody's benefit to do that. I think that it's a great idea.
Recognizing that they're an independent body.
Right.
Right. Anybody else? Okay. Any public comment on commissioner reports? Seeing none, we will move down to lab appointments. And Commissioner Embarth, I believe this is yours.
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and nominate Liam Kelly as our next youth member to the lab. Liam was interviewed by both Matthew and I interviewed him later, and it's very impressed both Matthew and I. He's very interested, has a lot of energy, has a lot of interest, and wants to get involved with the library system, which I think would be great. And we're looking forward to having him start attending the meetings. So I'd like to go ahead and move that the commission appoint Liam to his appointment with the Sebastopol Lab as a youth advisory board member.
I'll
I believe
second
we
that.
need a second. Okay, great. Thanks, Commissioner McKenzie. Any public comment on that? Any commission comments? Did I hear a voice?
Chair Doyle, we do have Liam Kelly here with us.
Ah, well, Mr. Kelly, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, I would. I'd just like to thank you all, and definitely Fred and Matt and just everybody. And it would be an honor to be on the advisory board, and I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for speaking up. All right, then I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ingbarth was the first. Commissioner Foxen.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge.
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie, you spoke up. Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker. Commissioner Parker. Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And I'll make it, I'm not sure where Commissioner Parker is. Some connections are difficult. We're going to call that 10 and 1 abstention, not 1 abstention, 1 absent. Yes, 1 absent. And welcome aboard, Mr. Kelly. Let's
Thank
see.
you very much.
You're welcome. Let's see, lab appointments, consent calendar. All right. Does anybody have any objections to the consent calendar? Then I will ask if someone wants to move approval.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay. Then we have Commissioner McKenzie, Commissioner Cahill, Commissioner Elkin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ingbarth,
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen,
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser,
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Mulford,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider,
Yes.
and I'll make it unanimous. And Commissioner Parker, we didn't hear you when Mr. Kelly was here. Would you like to approve his lab nomination? Commissioner Parker?
Got lost again.
Golly, okay. Don't take it personally, Mr. Kelly. All right. Welcome aboard. Then the consent calendar is passed and we're on to item 11.2, which is the ABD Insurance and Financial Services Renewal Policy. Director Hammond, do you want someone to walk us through this or?
Yes, I believe we have our counsel here and they can speak to this issue. And Suzanne Silva, our Human Resources Manager, is here as well. So who would like to start us off?
I was hoping that Suzanne would lead us on this one.
All right, Suzanne.
But I'm available as well as my colleague, Olivia Clark.
Okay.
If we have questions that would be better directed to us.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. As you know, the library is required to have property and liability insurance, and we were here last month and we brought the policy forward. However, it wasn't complete. There were some quotes. There were some items that weren't quotes that were still undecided, and you all had some questions. So we went back to the broker, and we were hopefully able to get some of these questions resolved. And so the premium, overall premium did increase by 22% from $110,467.12 to $134,501.36. And that was because of some of the following that are listed below. Previously, all of the library's increases in technology and the automated materials handler weren't included in that from the 2021 to the 21-22 quote. So that's why the property values increased. Then we didn't have a quote for the directors and officers and employment practices liability premium. So now that's included in the quote. Can we go to the next page, please? And then we went to all of the, we went to several carriers and some declined to quote. And then we are going to the incumbents now. So those are the previous insurers. And so those are the best providers for this insurance. One commissioner previously said that all the locations for all the Friends properties were not listed on the in the insurance. And that is true because the Friends, the properties are listed in multiple locations. So the buildings have coverage, and all of those locations are not needed to bind the proposal at this time. So it would just be important to note, like in 2017, when there was the fires, we submitted a claim and there was coverage provided for multiple locations. So if you need more information on that, we could talk about it, but it's not needed to bind the policy at this time. And then finally, there was a question about the genealogical society being on the policy, and that's removed. It doesn't mean that somebody from the genealogical society cannot come into the H&G and serve as a volunteer. So I'm hoping that this resolves the questions and that we can move forward with the policy renewal.
Any questions from the commission?
I'd like to maybe have, because that was, we received a good summary of liability issues in other areas, but I was wondering whether council could explain the difference and maybe the interaction of the D&O policy, the director's errors policy, and the employment liability insurance, how they relate to one another, and what differences there might be between the two of them as far as coverage.
Right. Well, you have managed to pick two of the policies that I probably am the least familiar with in terms of D&O coverage and EPLI. So generally, directors and officers policies cover just that. They cover liability claims against directors and officers for actions you take. That is distinct from the employee practices, which, as I understand it, covers a kind of claims that would arrive. The ones that most people think of would be like harassment claims or those discrimination claims, those sorts of things. And those are mostly going to arise in the context of supervisors' work. So while technically the commission supervises the entire library, the likelihood of there being a claim under an EPLI policy that directly relates to an action taken by a commissioner is very remote. You don't interact typically on that level with employees, and you certainly are not put in positions where you are giving direction to employees and supervising them in the way that we think of supervising. So I think the increase in coverage that was described at the last meeting, it was described as part of an increase in the D&O and EPLI coverage. But I think, Suzanne, from what you went through with the brokers, it's really an EPLI issue, not so much D&O.
That's correct. And it's also just an increase in the workplace, marketplace for claims in general. So not necessarily so much directly to the library. So just overall costs in general. And it was the EPLI. So it was bundled, but it wasn't specifically listed out as that in the first iteration of this when I brought it last month.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Ingrid?
Basically, it does, yes. I think I agree with you. You know, especially the EPLI is more or less a new creature, and I don't know very many of us that do know the ins and outs of that completely.
Any other comments, questions from the commission? Okay, then we vote for adoption. Yes. Do I need a first and do I need a move and
I
approve?
so move that we adopt.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Which was the second? Who was first? Commissioner
I'll
Hauser.
second it.
And then
Okay. Commissioner Heavenridge seconds it.
fabulous. Thank you. I couldn't see your hand. All right, then we will take a vote. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Engbarth.
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser was first. Commissioner Heavenridge was second.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker. I think it's a connection. Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And I will also approve. So we've got a 10 approval by 10.
I'm back.
Oh, fabulous.
I'm back. This is Commissioner Parker, and I agree. Yeah.
Excellent. And as long as I've got you, would you like to approve Mr. Kelly's being appointed to the lab, the Sebastopol lab?
Absolutely, yes.
Excellent. Okay, we've got unanimity. We always like unanimity.
I'm so sorry.
No.
Disabled.
Connections.
But that was a yes for
connections.
Mr. Kelly.
Fabulous. No, connections are difficult. Just as a, well, I'll mention that in agenda items for future meetings. Okay. Then with that, we are going into closed session. And we will see you all on the flip side. All right. Jen, could you let me know when everybody's here? Excellent. Okay. Wonderful. I'm going to reconvene the open session. There was no action taken in the closed session pursuant to government codes 54957.6 and 54956.9 D1. Do we have any suggestions for agenda items? I have one, and I think we've talked a little bit about something that goes with our insurance, the insurance policy that we talked about, the insurance services that we talked about tonight. And that is to try to come up with a 1-pager or a 2-pager for us and for the Friends and the Foundation, for our library support groups, that talks about, you know, what's covered by what, so that they know what kinds of things they have to cover and what kind of things the library policies cover, and just in just a 1 or 2 sheet presentation. And we've talked about possibly getting together with the Measure Oversight Committee, and I think those are the things on my list. Oh no, there's the third, sorry. I think it would be wonderful to talk about what the library advisory board's missions and roles and responsibilities are, and they're written into the JPA and into our bylaws. So I think a conversation starts there, and then maybe we could invite some people after a first conversation to talk about this, because we in a year or so can make some suggestions about changes in the JPA if we think that it's better for the library. And I think that because we have a lot of partner communities that we have to talk to, it's going to take a while to have all of those conversations. And I think if we see things that might need to be tweaked or might need to be changed, then now is the time to kind of talk about that. So I'd like to talk about the labs next time. Anybody else have agenda items?
I'm wondering about the appropriations limit.
We will have that for the next meeting, yes.
And we also have Commissioners McKenzie and Cahill.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes, I just had 2 quick things. One is we're getting these very helpful statistics, which I always, love every month, comparing this year, and now we're comparing it to last year, COVID year. I'm wondering at some point if we could have a comparison to, back to the old days, because I don't really have a sense of our, how far we've come back, because, well, anyway, what I'm trying to say is at the end of the year, maybe we could have some end-year statistics of, pre-COVID to now, and, checkouts, new cards, that kind of thing. That's one. And then outreach at the different libraries, which I'm really thrilled about. And I know it's, one of the emphasis of our strategic plan. I'm wondering if maybe we could hear, and maybe it's too early, but might have some sort of report about what some of the libraries are doing in terms of outreach currently, and any other strategic plan update, activities that are going on. Thank you.
I think we thought about having a strategic plan update sort of mid-year, and we're approaching that. Yeah. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes, a couple of months ago, we extended the terms of all the library advisory board members, excuse me, that had been accidentally expired without notice.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that we said a report on their status was going to be made at the December meeting. I think that's right. Tom, this was your issue as to the timing of that. Isn't that what we came up with?
I'll believe you.
Okay.
We will check.
All right. I think we're due.
Was it that long ago? Okay.
Yeah, really.
Golly. It seems to be. Anybody else? I'm not seeing any other hands. Okay. That's great. Our retreat is going to be on November 20th, and our next regular meeting is December 6th. And can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I don't think you need one.
All right, I think it's by acclamation. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Take care.
Deb.
Bye.
Mhm.
Good night.
See you next time.
All right.
Yep, bye-bye.